Hi travelers, and welcome back to my channel. I am currently in Skagway, Alaska, and I am doing an Alaskan cruise. This is actually my second Alaskan cruise, so I'm really excited to be back here and experiencing this all again because it's such an amazing place. So I decided that I would come on here and talk about things that I think you guys should know before you decide to book or go on a Alaskan cruise. Let's just jump right on into it. The first thing we want to talk about is what is the best time to go on an Alaskan cruise. So if you are unaware, the season runs from May to September. May and September are typically seen as shoulder months, and sometimes the weather can vary during those months. June and July are definitely the best months to go because you're more likely to see animals, and a lot of wildlife will be really blooming and out, and you'll have the best chance of a really great weather. So the next thing I want to talk about is that an Alaskan cruise is very different than a Caribbean cruise. A lot of people go on cruises in the Caribbean because it is warm, it is sunny, and it's just really beautiful and also very cheap. An Alaskan cruise is not like that. Honestly, I find them pretty expensive, especially if you want to do some of the really big excursions out there. Those can sometimes run up to $600 per person, so definitely prepare for that. But also there are many differences between the cruises. Obviously, geographically, Alaska is completely different than a Caribbean island, and I think I don't have to say that because that is obvious. But the cruises are different because they just day-to-day lifestyle stuff. When you're in the Caribbean, you're pretty much out by the pool on the cruise ship all the time, and you're drinking a lot, maybe just because it's a big beach vacation. But when you're in Alaska, the things that are set up for people to do during the day, people actually go to. You're not sitting on top of the top and sunbathing, most likely. I'm sure some people do, but more than likely the weather is a little bit too cold for that, or the water is a little bit too cold for that, and maybe a little bit windy. So the things that are going on and the tasks and activities that people have on the boats, people actually go to. So there's a lot of differences between a Caribbean and an Alaskan cruise, although they are set up the same way, as in all the logistics. Definitely do your research before, because although I had been on a lot of cruises down in the Caribbean, I definitely had differences when I went on my first Alaskan cruise. So I want to go into the next thing, which is that Alaska is becoming more of a popular spot to travel to. So when I went back on my first Alaskan trip, it was about 8 years ago, and although there were people here, there were definitely not nearly as many people. I remember in Skagway there was maybe 2 cruise ships, and today we have 4 cruise ships. So on our cruise ship we have a little over 3,000 people, so let's just say every cruise ship here has 3,000 people. That's a lot of people when you think about 4 cruise ships of 3,000 people compared to only 2. So that's double the amount of people in whatever town you're visiting. So I have noticed an increase of people at pretty much everything, at the Mendenhall Glacier, at different restaurants in town. So it can be a little offsetting to see that many people. So I just want to let you guys know that it is becoming a more popular thing. Travel is accessible to so many people now, so it's just something to be aware of. I don't think it'll ruin your trip or anything, but it is becoming more popular, so you might want to get out here while you can. So my next 2 things kind of go hand in hand, so let's start out with the first one, and it's that the weather can literally be anything. When I went back 8 years ago, we had sun and 80 degrees every single day. It was stunning, and we really lucked out. This time, it's actually been quite a bit cooler, around 60 degrees, and which isn't freezing, but it is when it's raining, so we've had a lot of rain. So my best advice is just expect everything, because you just never know what you're going to get. today in Skagway, we literally had rain, it was super windy, and then it was super sunny, and it's just like you just never know what's gonna happen. So wear the proper clothes and prepare for everything. And although yes, it sucks when it rains, try not to let you down, because it's still an amazing place and it really gives the place a really awesome atmosphere. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is that wearing layers will save your life. So this goes with the weather thing. Because it can get so hot and so cold in such a short amount of time, you really want to wear layers so that you can take off clothes if you need to. I wear a few different layers in Alaska because I am naturally hot natured, so it's just easy for me to take off a jacket. You can never put on stuff. You can always take off stuff, if that makes any sense. And it's just easier for when weather fluctuates really, really fast. My next note before you go is that I would highly suggest to research all of the cruise lines before you decide to purchase. I know that each cruise line has a certain stigma, a certain stereotype about them, but just kind of push those to the side and research for yourself. For me, if I was to suggest to you guys certain cruise lines in Alaska, I would suggest Holland or Princess. Princess are the ones that I've been on in Alaska, but Holland is also amazing, and because those two cruise lines take you to places that other cruise lines do not, and I also think that they're just great. But do not let me change your idea of what you want, because each cruise line offers something different and offers different varieties of stuff, and you guys have to be the ones to decide what you want out of your cruise, because I mentioned this earlier, but an Alaskan cruise can be very expensive, and if you're spending that much money, I really want you guys to have an amazing time. So obviously do your research. That's all you can do, and hope for the best. Okay, so my last and final thing that I want to talk about today is that I personally think that if you are going to spend money on anything in Alaska, I highly suggest splurging and getting a room with a balcony. And I think that this is not necessary on all cruises, especially cruises to the Caribbean, because although all those islands are gorgeous, you're not really in the room as much, so it's really not that big of a deal. But in Alaska, you're actually kind of in your room a lot, because most of the cruises go through like Glacier Bay or Tracy Arm, which are two like bays that have beautiful glaciers and pretty things to look at, and you go on like a boat tour with the whole boat. Hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically the whole cruise ship goes through this beautiful area. You're always looking at so many gorgeous things. There's a mountain over here and a glacier over here, and it's one of those cruises that I would highly suggest getting a balcony, just because it's so great waking up each morning and walking out here and seeing what is new, what's new thing to look at. And when you're going through those special parks like Glacier Bay and Tracy Arm, you have like a front seat. You don't even have to leave your room to see all this gorgeousness. So I would definitely splurge on a balcony on your Alaskan cruise. So obviously I could sit here and talk about Alaska all day. I've been here twice. I came back here for a reason, because I love it and I think it's amazing. But I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys. So if you guys have any Alaska questions, Alaska cruise questions, go ahead and comment down below. I would love to help answer anything, or maybe even make a new video on a topic. I know a lot of people really want to go on Alaskan cruises, and I totally understand why, trust me. So ask your questions. I hope this video helped you out with preparing your trip and planning your awesome trip to Alaska. You're going to have an amazing time if you come here. So that is all I want to say today, and I hope you guys have a great one, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, and happy travels.